So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys one-way cages and tripwire spots for all maps. I want to make this video to serve as a quick reference that someone can use if they want to check out a specific map or a specific one-way cage lineup, as opposed to having to watch a full setups video. But before we get into it, if you are new around here and you want to see more Valorant videos and guides like this, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. So first up, starting here on Ascent A site, the one-way cages here are going to be for a main. So for the first lineup, what you want to do is walk onto this light brick right here, right at the top of the staircase, second from the right. And basically you want to aim right along this dark line right here on the arch and throw your cage. It will land perfectly on the archway, and this is a pretty useful one-way cage for if you're playing in tree room or if you are playing behind generator. So if you want to throw a one-way cage on the left side of the arch instead, what you can do is walk onto this brick right here all the way to the left, and once again just aim right at this dark line on this curved part of the arch right here and throw your cage, and it will basically land at the same spot on the arch, just on the left side. So this cage is useful if you're playing behind boxes here. This cage is also useful if you're playing in this corner here near these bricks. So for tripwire spots, this one right here along the pile of bricks is pretty good, right at the entrance. And right here along the closable door is another good spot. Both of those are pretty standard, but other really good spots include on site here like this, and on this side as well. That way, if the attackers are pushing further onto site to try and clear it or try and get control of heaven, they will hit these wires or have to shoot them, and most people aren't expecting wires at this point, so a lot of people actually end up just running into these wires. Another spot near the entrance that you can do that is kind of weird and people might not expect is along the corner of the arch like this and connect it to the stairs. So if someone is just swinging out of a main like this, they probably won't stop to think and look for this wire. So something else you can do with the tripwire here is place one in front of a main and come place one right next to catwalk here to help your teammate playing tree room. So moving on to Ascent B site, and these are the lineups that I found to be easiest. And where you want to stand is right here along the wall, right at this line in the bricks. And you know it's the right line because it's basically in the middle of this doorway here to mark it. So this line right here against the wall. And for a one-way cage on the right side, all you want to do is aim at the bottom right corner of this sign, just like this, and throw your cage. It will land perfectly on the right side of the arch. And for the other one-way from the same spot on the left side, all you want to do is aim at this very small dark brown spot just above the archway, just like this. Throw your cage, and it will land on the left side. So the cage on the right side is good, especially if you're playing in market or a spot like this. And the cage on the left side is good if you're playing a spot like at the top of ramp here. And either of these cages are useful if you're playing back here at the bottom of lane. So for tripwire spots, generally I will always start with this one right here, right at the corner of the entryway, just like this, as well as one right here along this wall. And I really like placing a tripwire anywhere along this wall basically, because it is a super easy wallbang spot if you are playing on site or on top of those boxes right there. So another good tripwire spot if those are getting broken or aren't as useful is along the boat, just like this. It connects to the other side, so if someone is pushing through towards the defender's spawn, they will hit this wire. And another really good spot is right here along the boat, because it's very common for the attackers to push through into this corner and then run and close the door. And another benefit to this spot is that it's super easy to shoot through this wall as well. So moving on to split, and we're going to be starting off here on a site with tripwires. There are unfortunately no one-way cages for a site. So for tripwire spots, this one right here, right at the start of a site, is pretty standard, as well as one up here, right near a heaven at the top of ramp. If you want, you can move this one back here to the doorway. The one in the doorway allows you to play in this corner a little bit easier. So if someone hits the wire, they're a little bit closer when you swing. Otherwise for site here, I actually don't mind this one. So this one will catch people running right down the ramp here. But otherwise, the wires are also pretty good on the actual site itself. Right here and right here. That way when the attackers are pushing to clear site and take back site to try and plant safely, these wires will slow them down. So moving on to B site, of course, starting with the one-way cage, all you want to do is walk into this corner right here and basically aim anywhere along this thin brown trim, just like this. Clear your cage. This cage covers all of the exit of B main to B site, allowing you to play either back here, behind the stall, or you can play more on the site itself, right here. And this also works if you're playing even in this close corner. So for tripwire spots, this one right here along the trash can is pretty good if the enemy team doesn't have a Raze or a Sova. But if they do have either of those agents, typically this wire will always get broken. So what I like to do in that situation is place a wire here in case the attackers push this way towards site. Or more often, I'll be placing wires back here at the bottom of the staircase, just like this. That way anybody trying to plant at the default spot will hit this wire. And right here along the stall to try and slow down somebody pushing towards back site. And if the enemy team is mainly pushing through B heaven towards B site, what I'll do is place a wire here in heaven to support my teammate playing in heaven. That way they can fall back here and play off this tripwire. So moving on to bind, and really on this whole map there's only one-way cage spot, but there are a few cheeky tripwire spots that I think you guys will like. So first up on A site here, and right at showers we have the one-way cage. And for this cage, all you want to do is jump onto the bench, then jump onto this box, and in the corner here, you just want to aim between this dark brown tile and this light brown tile, right where they meet, right about here. Throw your cage, and it will bounce off the top and land on the sign. So this one way is very slight, but you can still see the feet of anyone leaving showers, and you can play back here behind boxes, or you can play back here in the cubby. Both of these are good spots to see the feet of anyone leaving showers. So now for tripwire spots, and the first spot here is one that not a lot of people know about. And all you want to do is aim right at the top of this metal sheet on top of the box. Throw your wire, and will completely cover the doorway of showers. So for short here, this is a pretty standard spot, right at the entrance of short. Another good spot is aiming along the wall here, so it connects to the staircase to the right, just like this. This will catch people off guard if they are pushing into the cubby right here. And there's a bunch of different wire spots that you can place off of the truck here. I personally like this spot a lot, as it's good at slowing down anyone who might be rushing to the default plant spot at the corner of site right here. Along the box here, connecting it to the staircase isn't a bad spot either. Just having a wire around here at U-Haul isn't a bad idea either. So for B site here, there aren't any one-way cages that you can place for hookah or for long. So standard cage placement will work either on site or at the entrances of the site. But for tripwire spots, there are some pretty cool ones. And the first one I really like here is aiming along the sand right outside of hookah, just like this. We'll connect to the roof and catch people jumping out of hookah. It's also really hard to shoot out. Something like this in hookah as well to catch people jumping out isn't bad either. And the standard over here at garden is just at the entrance. But most often on B site, I'll be placing the wires on the site itself right here. And right here on the other side, as these will slow down the people pushing to clear site. And this one will also slow down anyone who's trying to clear site or go for a bomb plant. And the reason that I like these two wires more is because these ones at the entrance will typically get hit by a Sova drone, a Sova shock arrow, or some sort of Raze explosive. So moving on to Haven A site, and first up with the one-way cage, all you want to do is line up along the boxes right here. Aim at the dark line here where these two pieces of wood meet. Throw your cage. And this one way isn't great, but it's pretty good if you're playing a super close angle like this, watching the top of the ramp. This is really only useful when you know the enemies are already pushing up the ramp and are committing to the A site execute. So for tripwire spots for A site, this one right here at the top of the ramp is pretty standard. This one over here works pretty well for short. If you want to play more back on the site, you can just place one along the box like this. That way it's easier to peek off of if you're playing back site. But if those wires keep getting broken, what I'll do is place the wires on the actual site near where the default plant spots are. So right there, or right here. Or if you want to try and slow down the attackers from pushing even further back site, what you can do is place one on the corner like this. And over here, you can just connect one to the wall and the site. So moving on to C site, and there's actually pretty decent one-ways for garage and long. So first up, for the garage one-way, what you want to do is walk into this corner right here. You just want to aim at this circular piece of metal right here along the wire, and move your crosshair just to the left till it's in the middle of this darker piece of wood at the roof, just like this. Throw your cage. It will land on top of this gray box, and this one-way is great because you can basically play anywhere on site to use the one-way. You can even play on platform here, as this one-way will cover the entire exit of garage onto site. So for the one-way for long, all you want to do is walk into this corner here next to the green box, and you just want to aim so that way your cage will land in this horn. So right about here is fine. Throw your cage. And this is a great one-way for if you're playing back site behind default. So as for tripwire spots for C site, really something like this at long is pretty standard and works fine. Something like this also works pretty well for garage. Otherwise, you can support your teammate playing in garage window by just placing a trip in here in garage itself. That way your teammate in window can play off this tripwire. Otherwise, if you want to play more back site, what you can do is place a tripwire right here. This will slow down someone trying to push and swing back site and the defenders spawn. If you really want to throw a weird wire though to try and throw off the attackers, what you can do is place a tripwire connecting the bottom of the horn to the entrance of the site from long. So that is all for my Cypher one-way cage and tripwires guide for all maps on patch 1.03. If you want to see more Valorant videos and guides like this, then I would greatly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button.